just, how long can these guys hold out? These guys, and I suppose I should be a little less gender specific because Kristi Noem is in there too. These Republican governors who are delighted to send their citizens to a painful, strangling, gargling, gurgling, panicky death. What I'm hearing from medical professionals is that when people are dying of COVID, they can't breathe, and no matter how hard they try, they can't get enough oxygen into their lungs, they can't get enough carbon dioxide expelled from their bodies, and as a result, they experience deep panic, and then they die. I mean, what a terrible way to go. But not according to Tate Reeves. Tate Reeves is the governor of Mississippi. And he was speaking at a Republican fundraiser over the last couple of days. This was late last week. And Tate Reeves says, I'm often asked by some of my friends on the other side of the aisle about COVID, and why does it seem like folks in Mississippi and maybe in the Mid-South are a little less scared, shall we say? Yeah, why are they a little less scared? Why are they willing to go out and not get vaccinated and not wear masks in public? Why are they? Well, Tate Reeves goes on. He says, when you believe in eternal life, when you believe that living on this earth is but a blip on the screen, then you don't have to be so scared of things. Oh, yeah. Where else did I hear that? Let's see here. Oh, yeah, suicide bombers in the Middle East. Seriously. This was bin Laden's sales pitch to the 15 Saudis, the 2 people from the United Arab Emirates, the one guy from Lebanon and the one guy from Egypt. None of them, by the way, from Afghanistan. This was bin Laden's sales pitch to the 19 people who flew planes into the Pentagon and the World Trade Center buildings and into the ground in Pennsylvania. Life is just a blip. Living on this earth is just a blip on the screen. You don't have to be so scared of things. There's a bunch of virgins waiting for you, didn't you know? I guarantee you that the person who blew themselves up at the Aba Gate outside the airport in Kabul last week believed the exact same, I'm searching for a word that I can say on the radio, stuff that Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves is preaching, which is, hey, don't be afraid of dying. There's paradise awaiting you on the other side if you just live your life right, refuse to get vaccinated. So back to my question, and I ask this as a very, very serious question of you. I have, probably because people know my politics, I mean, you know, I'm kind of in a unique position because anybody can just Google my name, which is not true of most of us. And find out instantly my politics. It's what I do for a living. So as a consequence of that, I don't have, you know, I mean, there's a few people that I have I'm struggling to not say friendships, but friendships. I mean, there's a few people that I actually hold in high esteem who are conservatives. There are people. I'm thinking of Brian out in Kansas. You know, he's been on our show many times. He's a very thoughtful guy, but he's not a Trumpy. And then, you know, and then there's people like Julio who I know, and I like Julio as a person. I've gotten to know him and his family, but you know, we are just 180 degrees opposite on politics. But I don't, frankly, outside of the work that I do, I don't frankly know anybody. I don't have anybody in my family who is a COVID denier or a vaccine anti-vaxxer or an anti-masker. So I don't have like an easy answer to this question, but how long can these people hold out? You've got down in Florida 29 police officers who have died of COVID now. You've got entire police forces where they're just way down in participation because you've got members of the police force who are in the hospital, in some cases on ventilators. Because they're all following Ron DeSantis. Now, DeSantis got himself vaccinated, and once in a while he'll go on TV and say, you should get vaccinated. He, to his minor credit, in a very quiet way, he, promoted vaccination at one point in time, but now mostly he's promoting monoclonal antibodies. Very expensive treatments for a disease that you don't have to get. There's a report from Fox 13 down in Florida. 29 law enforcement officers have died of COVID so far. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd says, quote, the majority of those hospitalized with COVID are unvaccinated. And then he goes on to say, this is the sheriff now. Listen to the doctors, don't listen to the politicians. Get your damn vaccine. He said that right after his deputy, Christopher Broadhead, 32 years old, died of COVID last week. DeSantis is up for re-election next year, Ron DeSantis. And if he wants to propel himself to the White House in 2024, he's got to get himself reelected. Is he going to be able to pull this off? Meanwhile, the right wing is still all over this. I got my writing newsletter today, WorldNet Daily, the headline, will vaccines mandates spur the demise of the U.S. economy? The Federalist, pretending COVID is an emergency is killing America. 600,000 dead people is not an emergency? What am I missing here? The American Conservative magazine, say no to vaccine passports. Right. Flag and cross. Fauci wants to force vaccines on all children to attend school. Yeah, like we do with measles. And what's wrong with that? And then it gets very weird. This is down in Butler County in Ohio, Butler County, Ohio. Common Pleas Judge Gregory Howard ordered the Westchester Hospital, which is part of the University of Cincinnati Hospital Network, to give Jeffrey Smith, 51 years old, ivermectin. He is in the hospital. I believe he's on a ventilator. He's been in the hospital in the ICU for several weeks. His wife, Julie Smith, found ivermectin on the internet, hooked up with this Ohio doctor, a guy by the name of Dr. Fred Wagshul, W-A-G-S-H-U-L. He says he's one of the foremost experts on using ivermectin to treat COVID-19. She's represented by a New York attorney, Ralph Larigio, who's the chairman of the New York's Erie County Conservative Party, of course. He has successfully filed similar cases, one in Chicago, two in Buffalo. And so now the hospital is going to have to give this guy horse deworming medication as he's dying of COVID. What could possibly go wrong? Seriously, what could possibly go wrong? How long are these guys going to hold out? How long is it going to be? And now we've got several new variations. There's a new C variation, which is not part of the Delta strain. It looks like it might be pretty nasty. And then there's, Delta Plus, and now there's two new Delta variants. Where is this going to go? We're going to try and get an expert on this stuff on the program later in the week. I don't want to be here talking medical advice, but the politics of it, I don't think are sustainable.